所以用这些设备。
我感觉看他少，是不是在这种我去都给我做过。
Okay, in the interest of time, I want to quickly go through this question because it's not very difficult. We actually did it during our tutorial just now. Okay? They give you a small case study, and the question is very simple. After reading such a complex case study, the question is very simple. They said, we've created an objective, and the objective is design a user-friendly system for each host project to develop a new system that automates order processing, inventory, and warehousing. So the question they want to know is this objective smart? Remember we talked about smart just now, just before lunch? So it's a complex question, but the answer is obviously no, right? It's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not achievable, it's not relevant, it's not time-bound. Okay? We talked about this just now. And I really want to go through quickly because we've already discussed this just now. So this is a smart objective. Develop and implement a user-friendly system that requires zero training, so one measurement, within 9 months, that reduces order processing time by 70% and provides real-time inventory visibility with fewer than 2% order errors. So it's very specific to my system that I'm trying to build. It's very measurable, and because of all these numbers, it's achievable because, as I said just now, I've given myself 9 months to do it, so I think more than enough time. Is it relevant? Yes, because based on the case study, that's what they need. Yeah. Is it time bound? Yes, it's time bound. Within 9 months, I have to finish it. And I also specify time zero training. Okay. So that's question A. I just wanted to go through quickly. I'm just going through in case you have this type of questions during your test or during your exam. Second question is identify and describe two stakeholders. I think this one is very clear from the case study, right? One stakeholder is the client side, the senior management, because they are the guys who want this system, right? And the other stakeholder, if you read it here, is some of the staff in the warehouse. Yeah? There are some staff in the warehouse, so that can be another stakeholder. There are a few more, but they just ask for two. You can describe a few more. Okay, question 2 requires you to have knowledge of your different software process models. Do you all learn during systems analysis and design or object-oriented analysis and design about all the different types of models for developing? There's software engineering, there's models like rapid application development, RAD. The spiral process model. Remember all those things that you learned before? They are all different models. So you must have that knowledge in your mind because this question gives you a scenario and says, based on this scenario, where the project team, you have to develop the system, you know the duration, there's some budget, there's a lot of budget, the user requirements are uncertain, but the company has committed to a few departmental managers to be highly involved and provide consultation. In addition, the scale of the project is large. So there are a few key points here. Duration 24 months, requirements unknown, scale of the project is large, entails the use of new technology and programming language that your team is unfamiliar with. So guess what? Do you think there's a lot of risk? There's a lot of risk, right? And you said spiral already. Why? Why not red? Why spiral? For shorter project. The duration is quite long, right? It's not short term, it's 24 months, you know. Okay. So let's put a few points down so at least you guys have this in your head in case it comes up. Okay. So let's talk about spiral. You guys can see from the side, right? Yes. So let's say spiral versus red.
They are unfamiliar with the.
Okay, why spiral? One, because it's uncertain user requirements.
Okay.
You remember the spiral process model? One of the main things is that every circle you go, you have to evaluate the risk. Remember? It checks for the risk, whether you got any risk or not, you have to take. Okay? The other reason for spiral is because it's not because it's short, it's because it's long, it's 24 months duration. The other one requires high user involvement. This one, I would argue, high user involvement, RED also requires high user involvement. So both also can be calculated here. 4, new technology. That's what they're talking about, right? New technology and unfamiliar tools. So that's why I think it's more suitable for Spiral. 5, large projects. So these are all the characteristics of Spiral, and that's why I think for this, it's more appropriate for the Spiral process model. Let's compare to RED. RED is useful for fast prototyping. RED has to assume you have to know the users must know their requirements well. And this one requires experienced developers to do this. Okay. Here, the developers have to use new technology and programming language that they are not familiar with. So, RED cannot do it. I've actually done a project long time ago in Hong Kong for a customer using RED. And it was really, really good because we could develop the prototype really, really fast. Okay? I had the client sitting beside me, and the client told me all their business requirements. Okay? He just wrote down and sat with me for 3-4 hours and said, okay, this is how I think we need to do this. These are what I need. So I quickly used my IDE tool. In those days, I was using the 4GL IDE tool. I developed, I threw the script, generated the code, through customize, change that, then they will give me input. Okay, this one, let's move this a bit here. So I think the calculation is not correct. Change on the spot. So very fast prototyping. The user who sat beside me understands the business very well, and I knew how to use the tool very well. So I could easily use the tool to quickly do all the changes he wanted. Whereas this one, Spiral, more fitting for this case study. So you must understand the process models here. Otherwise, it's very difficult to answer this question. You have to justify it. Okay, what time do we have now? We have 10 more minutes. I think we can do question 3. Okay. Can I ask you guys, where do you stop in your lecture? Because if you haven't studied this in your lecture, I am. Huh? Oh, you stop at the calculation part. Okay. Let me search and see whether you need the earned value management. The calculation part is like 40.
哇，这么清楚。
换了一个电话的例子瓦了，
Okay, the earned value management which we want to do.
现在 summer sale，
I think it's much later.
我们那边。那个data force 不一样。
我不是给你看，
它是从论解释我什么都不做，它是没有的，但是它正面的没有，就是它不是反正是跟基金好像整一下，有点排斥，一个人导多嘛，
看你家的时候，我看
对啊，真的那个，啊，都不讲意思。好像买没有啊。
Okay, since you haven't covered this yet, I think what I suggest we do is I explain to you some of the concepts, but we won't go through the calculations yet. Might be too much. Okay, so this concept is called EVM. Earned Value Management. And the purpose of this is to measure the goal, is to measure your project performance. You measure your project performance in 2 ways. One is to see if your schedule THET, is ahead or behind the schedule. Okay. The other way you measure your project performance is your project is under budget or above your budget. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. Net present value is to check whether your project is profitable or not. This other concept of earned value management is to measure your project performance. How? In two ways. In terms of your time, to see whether your project is on time or behind time. That's why we developed the project schedule, Microsoft project, remember? And the other reason to use this is to calculate about your budget, whether you've overspent or you're underspent or you're just on budget. Okay? So this is the purpose of earned value management. So this is the background, and then there's some calculations to it. Okay? There are a couple other concepts. You can take down these notes. So when you do your lecture, when the lecturer explains this, you are very clear. There are a couple of concepts here. Let me use that slide. There is something called planned value, or PV. Let me give you a simple explanation of this. It answers the question, how much work should be done right now? So you know when you do your project schedule, you say, okay, gather user requirements, interview the users. How much time should you take to do that? So you say, I need 5 days to interview the users. Okay? So this answers this question, how much work should be done right now? Okay, what you plan. So it's called planned value. Then there's something called earned value. And this is shown as EV. Okay? And EV is how much?
你不要讲话，
Value
我们可以不要讲话好吗？
of work
因为4个杯，就是给你2次讲，
have we earned
给3次讲。
based on progress.
把我们带走。
Okay, so if you think about it, this is your budget, what you plan to do. This is your actual, what you have already done. That's one way to think of it. Okay. So remember I said there are 2 goals to calculate this. So the formula, you can write this down when you see your class, hopefully it makes sense. To calculate whether your schedule is ahead or behind, the formula is called schedule variance. And this is called SV. And the formula is EV minus PV. Okay. So if you get a positive answer, that means you are ahead of schedule. If you get a negative answer, means you are behind schedule. That's all. Actually, it's very logical. And then the final one, which I'll show you here, is a cost variance. And the cost variance is to calculate this goal, which is to find out whether your project is under budget or not. So the cost variance is, let me write it down, cost variance, or we call CV, is the value is EV, which is over there, right? EV minus AC. You haven't got AC yet because AC means actual cost. Actual cost is what you have spent so far. What you have paid so far. So actual cost. Yeah, this is the amount. paid. So once again, If this number here is a positive, means you are under budget. If this number here is negative, means you are over budget. That's the concept.
Okay.
So once you know this, you can apply it to the question, which we will do next week after your lecture. Makes more sense, I think. We do it now, it will be too confusing.
太闭了。
Yes.
Oh.
Still have time, right?
Two more minutes.
Okay, Wifi 67